Hello, this is RA, and I'm going to be spending some time going over behavior records in detail so that you can understand more about how Honeycomb is storing data. Behaviors are at the heart of Honeycomb, and so understanding how they relate to other data, how they're created, and what we can do with them is important to understanding how you can fully leverage Honeycomb. A behavior can be related to a campaign, a media placement, and a lead. Every time that a behavior is created, it looks up the related campaign and media placement. The reason it does that is so that we can determine what marketing effort created the behavior. So it looks up the campaign by the campaign tracking name, and it looks up the media placement by the media tracking name. If it doesn't have those, it uses logic to determine which campaign and media effort created them. If we're uploading data, we can also use the data in the spreadsheet to help identify the media placement and the campaigns that created the behavior. But without knowing who did that, behaviors are not as relevant. So we also relate the behavior to the lead. The lead is the person who acted and did that behavior. They're the ones that behaved that way. And so it's related to the lead, and the default lookup is the email address. If it finds a match, it goes in and adds a duplicate behavior. If it doesn't find a match, it creates a new lead. But it's not just the email address. We can use other fields, but the email address is the default field that it uses to identify who the lead was. We can also use first name, last name, address, or an external field. If you have a customer ID from imports from an e-commerce or other system, we can use those fields to associate a behavior with a lead. So that's the immediate information that's related to a behavior. Once a behavior is created, there's a couple things that we can do after that point, like reporting and analysis. We can run reports to determine which of the behaviors that are working, which ones are not, what is the information that we want to see related to how the behaviors are performing, and then we can get that out of reporting and analysis. Also, once a behavior is created, we can have workflow automation that stems from a behavior being created. So that would be if a visitor guide has been requested, we can have an email go back to them. If someone has requested information for a group reservation that's quite large, we can also have workflow automation. Send a notice to people on your team for follow-up. So after a behavior is created, we've got reporting and analysis and workflow automation that can stem from those behaviors. So it's important to understand how the behaviors are created so that we can get the reporting and the workflow automation correct for our behaviors. So this is what it looks like in the model. Let's go in and look at some real data. So I've pulled up a lead here, and we've got a lot of information about this lead, their interests, when they're coming, etc. And underneath that lead, inside of Honeycomb, you'll see the related item called behaviors, and you'll see the most recent behaviors normally show up there. If I go to the list, I can see the entire experience for this person, this lead, throughout their lifetime. Now, oftentimes you'll see the concept inside the Salesforce platform of converting a lead to a contact. We don't want to do that. The lead stays a lead throughout their entire customer life cycle, but the behaviors will go from lead nurturing to conversion. As you can see inside this person's life cycle, they opted in, got emails, they had a visitor guide and a reservation as well. So those are the types of behaviors that this lead has performed throughout their life cycle. So they're going to stay a lead, but their behaviors hopefully are going to move from lead nurturing types of behaviors like emails and phone calls into a conversion, which is this reservation behavior right here. So if we have other e-commerce transactions, we're going to import those as behaviors to the lead so that we can see this person's life cycle, this lead's life cycle, all the way from when we first got introduced to them all the way through their life cycle as they come back and convert time after time. Let's look at an individual lead itself. Tell you what, let me look at one that has, I think this is a good one. So inside a behavior there are quite a few details. On the left hand side of this left column, you're going to see the type of behavior that it was. Now these types of behaviors need to be thought through because this is what we're going to be capturing. So if it's a reservation, it's a booking, whatever your behaviors are, we want to customize these types of behaviors for the appropriate reporting going forward. So this one was a visitor guide request, the date that it happened, which campaign it was, as well as the email that occurred for this this behavior. So this was the email address that actually behaved this way. And on the right hand side we have the campaign that was associated with it and any content. So if you're putting content inside of your tracking URLs, this will help tell you where in the email, which link in the email they clicked on. It might also tell you if you have A and B creative that's out there. It could also be used to distinguish between Facebook posts. That's what this content is telling us, is what was the message that created this behavior. You can also have keywords that are being captured. So if someone converts off the website, it'll capture, Honeycomb will capture the keywords that were being used. We also have the medium. This is imported from Google Analytics and is of less use these days, but if you want to be able to associate the medium and break it out by email versus print versus whatever, you can do that here. And then the referring site or the media placement. So this is what's captured and then sent over to the media placements, media tracking name, to identify the media placement. So those are the fields that I just went through that help identify campaign and media placement for the behavior. Right inside here we also have the message, so we know the campaign, the placement, and the message that helped create this behavior. And then on the left hand side, of course, is how we look up and identify that lead. Now this behavior record can have additional fields added to it if that needs to be done for your data model, but that's a behavior record in detail, what it relates to and how we store it so that we can understand what that lead is responding to over time in our marketing efforts. Thank you.